Hello. Today is Wednesday, June 18th, 2025. This is a sideshow. I'm Theodore Parker, coming to you from Lexington, Kentucky, USA. In the weather today, currently it's around 9 a.m. on the East Coast. Be mostly cloudy in this area, highs in the low 80s and lows in the upper 60s. Storms possible this evening, 55% chance of that. It appears storms target Midwest and the East Coast. Expect Friday to be next sunny day. Grass, ragweed pollen decreasing tomorrow. Almost the same as yesterday, down by 1 degree. Currently it is 75 with a little bit of fog and feels like 75. Today, sunrise was at 6:14 a.m. Sunset will be at 9:03 p.m. The AQI is good at 30 currently. The wind, 10 miles per hour, and pollen very high. Currently, the UV is low. So, after coming through the weekend, President's birthday, American troops from the U.S. Army celebration of 250 years, into Monday, and now here we are at Wednesday, midweek. So let's see what's in the news. Number one, tragic loss. Lexington family grieves after fatal stabbing over bottle of bourbon. The details are still not all put forward, but there was a stabbing of a man over a bottle of Woodford Reserve bourbon. And his family spoke out, particularly his sister, that with him gone, she's the only surviving sibling of the family. They had lost a sister in October. So authorities are conducting their investigation. Next one, special deputy in Kentucky Sheriff's Department kills girlfriend in murder-suicide, cops say. Beattyville. Number three, man reportedly confesses to stabbing fiancée to death because she was driving a wedge between him and his roommate. This happened in Michigan. Man 25, girlfriend 33. There are no details as to the gender of the roommate or what the wedge allegedly was that he said was being driven there by the girlfriend, fiancée. Next one is what they do to every heterosexual woman that enters into the WNBA. Caitlin Clark gets diamond comparison despite WNBA forcing LGBT and angry black girl agenda. And this was by Jason Whitlock. This is, I don't mean to laugh, but it's just kind of confusing to me because I didn't really get the gist of what was being presented here. Across sports, various members of sports leagues have spoken out about their sexual orientation preference. And their teammates as well as the public has reacted, but I have yet to hear anything about this one. Okay, next one. They are going to have to start paying guys. Doc Rivers breaks down why OKC won't be able to keep this team together. This kind of speaks to salary caps, what each team organization has to spend, and with the statistics and stats piling up in references to each player's performance, then it would stand to reason that there would be an increase in salary. Whether or not OKC, under those conditions, is able to hold together this team that they presently have remains to be seen. That is Doc Rivers' breakdown on the situation. And there were trade talks, and the finals are not even over yet. Next one, Sha'Carri Richardson, Gabby Thomas, and Tara Davis Woodhull are new co-owners of Athlos, a women's-only track league set to launch in 2026. Reddit co-founder Alexis Ohanian is involved with these women in doing this. So there is a prize, and whatever revenues that come forward from these events are supposed to be distributed to a certain degree amongst the winners of the events. So this is a brand new approach, women running a league for themselves. There was like an opening, I think. They're scheduled to do something this year, and then it will be officially launched in 2026. So this seems like a good thing, the way it's being organized and presented. People are begging Drake to log off after he posted an embarrassing screenshot of his DM to Canadian politician who went to a Kendrick Lamar concert. So those of you who follow music, rap, hip hop, know that there's been an ongoing feud between Kendrick Lamar and Drake, which kind of culminated with Kendrick Lamar's release of Not Like Us and his performance of it in the halftime at the Super Bowl. So Kendrick Lamar, hands down, seems to have won whatever feud there was going on between Drake and him. But the politician responded to Drake's DM that he posted and said that he was there to see Zay, not Kendrick, but either way, he still would side with Drake, being as they both are from Canada in that sense. So the general opinion is that Drake should drop it and let it go as far as jumping in when Kendrick Lamar's name is mentioned in the media. Next one, when he dies, the party's opting to UG. I never saw this word before, YUGE. Trump assassination threat suspect says he wanted to twist the knife after sliding it into the president, Fed says. Peter Stinson, who spent 33 years in the Coast Guard and served as an instructor for the Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, is facing one felony count of making threats against the President of the United States, court documents show. Next one, exclusive. Jennifer Lopez dragged into Sean Diddy Combs' horrific trial as video of her answering whether she was afraid of rapper resurfaces. Jennifer and Sean were an item from 99 to 2001. Excuse me, I think this video is from that era, so definitely 20 years ago at least. And she just answers no, she wasn't afraid, but the person that she was then was not entirely comfortable with what was going on with the relationship. And she needed to make some adjustments for herself. Sean was just being himself. And the biggest thing that the public was made aware of was there was a shooting incident at a nightclub where Sean Combs and Jennifer Lopez were both arrested. She was not charged with anything and released, and whatever his charges were I guess he fulfilled whatever the obligations were related to it, probably gun charges specifically. So she said no, she was not afraid. And number 10 in the news, callous and horrifying. Trump slammed for urgent call to evacuate city of 10 million people with no explanation. The Atlantic's Tom Nichols added, once upon a time, if a president urged the people of a foreign capital with whom we are not at war to evacuate and then posted with lots of exclamation points in them, we'd be very concerned about the health and stability of that president. Now everyone shrugs and says, well, Trump. Moving on to the top stories today for Wednesday, June 18th. First one, Trump's $4.99 built in the U.S. smartphone will likely be made in China, analysts say, making it subject to his own tariff policy. This is another one of those items, merchandise, that has come forward from the Trump organization. You had the hats, you had the gold sneakers, now you have a smartphone. But again, even if it's released, considering supply chains and just manufacturing things here in the United States, at the very most, they might be able to make 1,000. And traditionally, parts have come from China, been assembled in China, and moved forward from there. So that's how this is being looked at. So for him to propose a $499 smartphone and not include the effects that his own tariffs have on it, excuse me, leaves a little bit to be desired. Number 2 in the top stories, NAACP won't invite Trump to its national convention, breaking a 116-year tradition. Next one, judge fires warning shot in Diddy trial as jury drama intensifies. So this one is related to a gag order. And most recently, juror number 6 was released. And the judge cited an article in the media that said that arranged for him to speak again to not speaking to the public about what was going on in the trial. Number 4, Sam Altman says Meta offered OpenAI staff $100 million bonuses as Mark Zuckerberg ramps up AI poaching efforts. Excuse me. So most recently, it says hiring, but actually it was a 49% buy-in to Scale AI founder Alexander Wang's company as part of a $14 billion deal. So Mark Zuckerberg recently appeared in front of Congress about his business activities of grabbing what we refer to as startup companies and either buying them and putting them in his organization so that there's not the competition with Meta that would ordinarily go there. So this is kind of like another example of it. I did the article in a previous airing of the sideshow and put the details out there pertaining to that 49% buy of Scale AI company and the hiring of Alexander Wang, which is kind of how those things play out. Number 5 in the top stories, $100 million in diamonds Rolex watches, emeralds stolen, and largest jewelry heist in U.S. history. Number 6, Clark scores 20, and the Fever beat the Sun 88-71 in physical game to secure Commissioner's Cup spot. There's been some conversation, as always, during this time of the year when the NBA is playing. The people that are watching, the crowd attendance, the players and everything else, but sports is sports, and players are subject to whatever physicality that happens during the playing of the game in regular season and especially during playoffs. So in this particular game, there was some physical aspects of it when Clark had the ball and the defender reached in but ended up poking her in the eye. So she grabbed her face and kind of got offended about that. And in the process of bodies moving, one of the opposite team's members stepped in, and because Caitlin had her hands in front of her face, bumped her and she hit the floor. So that ended up with 1 foul and 3 technicals. And as it says, the score was 88-71. Fever wins the game. Number 7 in top stories, Trump blows off Gabbard, downplaying Iran nuclear threat, but will still say President and Intel chief are in sync. So as far as I understand, I guess Iran doesn't even have nuclear capabilities. But there's all this talk like, no nukes for Iran, no nukes for Iran, when they're already in that position. But the news media showed the city being evacuated, 10 million people, highways bumper to bumper. So as I've said before, the president says something, the stock market reacts, the president says something, the people react. Number 8, stock market fear index spikes after Trump's war threats. And there we have it. Number 9, Ben Askren's wife says former fighter may require a lung transplant. She says, I'm still praying for a miracle. Ben Askren is an alumni of the UFC, and he is recovering from having contracted pneumonia. And number 10, David Kenai Bell, Lilo and Stitch actor, dies at 46. No cause of death has been forwarded or been spoken of as of yet. So those are headlines and top stories in the news today for Wednesday, June 18, 2025. Excuse me. So we know tomorrow across the country is celebrations for Juneteenth history, and it coincides with Lexington's 250th anniversary year. So there's an article that shows what events will be going on. And this is probably one of the few celebrations that the president did not end amongst most cultural celebrations, because prior to his announcement of changing that, every month of the calendar year was a celebration of some cultural significance. So here we are, Lexington, this week. Lexington has several days of events planned for Juneteenth to bring to light the city's history of Black American liberation and commemorating the end of slavery in the United States. The city's oldest Juneteenth celebrations began 20 years ago. The events will reflect part of Lexington's 250-year heritage. In 2021, Juneteenth was recognized as an official national holiday and honors the day all enslaved in the United States were legally freed. On June 19, 1865, about 2 months after Confederate Army General Robert E. Lee surrendered at Appomattox, Virginia, Union forces rode into Galveston, Texas to tell enslaved African Americans the Civil War had ended and they were free. The news came nearly 2.5 years after the Emancipation Proclamation had been issued by President Abraham Lincoln. Starting in the 1800s, June 19th was celebrated by Black Americans as Emancipation Day or Juneteenth. Early celebrations usually involve family gatherings and prayers, as well as pilgrimages to Galveston by formerly enslaved people and their families. In 1872, a group of Black ministers and businessmen in Houston bought land to establish Emancipation Park as a place to hold the city's annual Juneteenth celebration. Tradition grew and some cities began holding larger events with parades and festivals. Excuse me. Texas became the first state to recognize the holiday in 1980, and other states soon followed. All 50 states and the District of Columbia all recognize the holiday in some form. However, as protests erupted across the country in 2020 to protest police brutality, many pushed for federal recognition. Congress moved to push the legislation through, and in 2021, President Joe Biden signed into law a bill recognizing Juneteenth as a federal holiday. While many celebrations were muted in 2021 and 2022 because of the COVID-19 pandemic, many cities have ramped up their celebrations in the recent past. Lexington's celebration is no different, Mayor Linda Gordon said. Our Juneteenth celebrations in 2025 will be bigger and better than ever. Gordon said there's something for everyone. Celebrations started on June 14th and activities will continue through June 21. The celebration on June 14th at African Cemetery Number 2 was the city's original Juneteenth celebration and honors the Civil War soldiers who fought for freedom. Over in African American Cemetery Number 2, we've been doing it since 2005. Yvonne Giles, Lexington's African American historian, said. The event also gave the history of the Juneteenth flag, designed by Ben Haith, the founder of the National Juneteenth Celebration Foundation in 1997. He chose the red, white, and blue colors because he knew that enslaved African Americans had been born in the United States. Gill said, "We were Americans too. We had a part in history, and he chose these colors to connect us to America." Juneteenth flags will be displayed on Main Street in downtown, and banners celebrating Juneteenth will be placed along the Legacy Trail from Isaac Murphy Memorial Art Garden to North Lexington YMCA, officials said. At 11 a.m. on June 19th, a sense of place honoring Lexington's historical Black hamlets will take place at 705 Camden Lane. Organizers said the day will be filled with live music, cultural performances, food, and storytelling that focuses on the community's history. Officials will also hold a ribbon-cutting ceremony for the Camden Town Rosenwald School since its renovation. At 4 p.m., Christian Adair, the executive director and founder of Alpha League, will speak at We Still Dance, a Juneteenth celebration of rhythm, resilience, and the American Spirit at the Lyric Theater and Cultural Arts Center. The event, inspired by Maya Angelou's poem And Still I Rise, honors the spirit of the American people, organizers said. And so it continues on until June 21st, but I just thought I would pass that on since it is recognized nationally as a holiday. And just one day ahead, Thursday, June 19th, Juneteenth. So, here we are, middle of June, 2025. This is a sideshow. I'm Theodore Parker. That's it. Hashtag.